various locations via the miracle of Skype. It's the 40th anniversary season of the LTN Hour. Let's talk NASCAR with your host, Todd Bailing, co-hosts Brian Schmidt, PJ Noodleman, and producer Dangerous Dan Margetta. Call the show anytime at 414-421-7901. And now, the creator and host of the fastest hour in radio, Todd Bailing.
Well, NASCAR certainly knew what they were doing when they decided to make Martinsville the last race before the championship, because, as PJ calls it, it's slobber knocker racing at its finest. Pushing, banging, moving, punching. It's exactly what NASCAR wants. Hello there, everybody. Todd Bailing in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, I got here just a little in advance of the championship, joined by my three partners, starting in Oostburg, Wisconsin, with Brian Schmidt. Hey.
Good morning. Yes, we're ready to go. The penultimate race of the season here at Martinsville. I think it's going to have a hard time living up to last week's race, though, I would think. But you never know. Can be done.
No doubt. PJ Noodleman, out along the Great Mississippi. How you doing?
Doing well, and this whole points thing is getting curiouser and curiouser.
Yeah, good point. Dan Margetta, our producer, director in St. Francis, USA. Hey, man.
Hey, well, Martinsville, the place you want drama, you can get it here. I mean, if there's ever a track where everything's so tight and people get mad at each other and probably carried into next week, this is where it's going to happen. Someone might knock somebody out of the way to get to that championship four. It happened already in the truck race, and we'll see y'all next week in Phoenix.
And it's pretty much what it's going to take, too, and the points are set up for this to happen, which, again, is pretty much what they want. Now, we realize that this whole system has been brought out, the point system, for the 2003 championship year of Matt Kenseth, who won one race all year long and yet won the championship, and it happened before the last race of the year. That's how much he points them. He points them. If that wasn't a word, we'll start using it. It certainly turned out that way for Matt, though. He was very, very consistent, which is what the points rewarded at the time. So they changed it just because it took away the excitement of having a champion determined in the last race. However, coming down to Martinsville here, PJ, I don't know if that's what they were after. We certainly have a couple of cars that are at the point where it's gonna. Let's start with a car that didn't do well all year long in that 22 car, and all of a sudden here he is.
No kidding, Squinty McSquinter already doing well, and Kyle Larson below the cut line right now. I don't think any of us really saw that happening.
No.
He's a guy with multiple wins. I mean, Joey Logano has been a 15th place car all year. He's got 2 wins. One was in Nashville with a 5 overtime crazy finish, and he won Atlanta, the first race of the playoffs, and that's it. Otherwise, that car hasn't been very much up front. Then he strategized his way to win in Vegas, and here he is in the Final Four. So should he pull it off next week? If you look back at his schedule or his season, I mean, his record is way worse than Matt's was in 2003. Matt had a ton of top 5 finishes, running with engines that were below on horsepower. Remember the Livonia lounge chairs? I mean, what he did that year was pretty crazy.
What was the crew chief's name on the 78 car when they won the championship in 2017? James?
No, it was Cole or Pern, right?
Cole Pern.
Cole Pern, yeah.
That's it, Cole Pern. He's the one that described Joey Logano as having squinty, douchey eyes. And, there's something out there that makes me want to remember him from that. Now he's got glasses on top of it, so squinty, douchey, 4 eyes. There we go. And he's in it. He was the first car to make it to the championship event. Amazing. At any time during this program, if you'd like to call us and weigh in on anything pretty much having to do in the world of NASCAR, you can call us at 414-421-7901, and we're the number hasn't changed. We leave it that way, and you can remember it forever and ever. The race will start just a couple of minutes after 1 o'clock this afternoon. By the way, Welcome to the end of daylight savings time, where now Phoenix and Milwaukee are only 1 hour different. The race will be carried on Channel 4 in Milwaukee, Channel 15 Madison, your local NBC affiliate. It's perfect day for racing. Highs in the 60s out in Virginia, 5% chance of rain. The segments will be at lap 130 and 260. Of course, it's a 500-lap event on just a little over a half mile track, 0.526. And Truex will start from the pole. Gee, I didn't write down his speed. Truex, this is kind of his going away unless he wins today or next week. His greatest thing that he's doing this year is winning a pole. He's had a bad year in his last year. Nobody wants to go out on a bad year, and yet it's hard to go out on a good year. So figure that one out. Your playoff guys are all over the place. The 9 and 24 cars start second and third. The 5 car starts ninth. The 22 starts 12th. The 45 starts 31st. Now, those guys are already in. And speaking of which, the 45 making it into the playoffs. Last week was just a classic race at what is really turned into NASCAR's best track as far as I'm concerned at Homestead. The last corners of the last lap, and you've got Blaney who's trying to get in. You've got Hamlin who's trying to get in, and around the outside comes the 45, and Tyler Reddick goes ahead and puts himself in the big.
On old tires, too. I mean, Reddick had older tires than those
yeah,
guys.
a little older. I think they had 8 laps on him or something, didn't they?
Yeah, but still, it was. I mean, he made it work on the outside because he wanted it. You can tell moments in sports where somebody really wants it, and Reddick really wanted it there. And Brian, are you surprised that Blaney left the top open a minute? Reddick lives on the top.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's one of 3 guys behind me going into the last lap at Homestead, Reddick, Larson, or Bell, those are the 3 that I'm not going to give the top to. And Ryan went into the corner, and he, as soon as he went down, I kind of gasped. I'm like, what are you doing? You know? And there goes Reddick right around him on the outside. And I know Blaney's car wasn't running well on the top, so I'm sure he thought to himself that I got to go where the car runs good. But on the last lap, make him try to go down on the inside of you and maybe drag race him to the line and see what happens. I mean, he just basically left the door wide open, and he just drove away from him in less than a quarter of a lap. He had several car lengths on him at the line.
No
His
kidding.
spotter should have told him.
Oh, yeah.
Block that top.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the radio chatter if his spotter mentioned that the 45 was coming or anything like that. And Ryan didn't really give any, acknowledgement as to how that went down at the end. But man, oh man, that's a mistake. Especially now looking at where he sits, he's going to have a lot of work to do today to make it into this Final Four to try to repeat.
Young Reddick certainly has come a long way in a relatively short amount of time. You guys talked to him at the time when NASCAR wasn't even advertising him as their 2-time Xfinity champion, didn't you?
Yeah, he won the championship, and he left him out of the ad the next year, and he was like, what the heck? And he was kind of squawking about it on social media, and they were getting a little upset. We told him at Chicago that time, just keep being you. That's great. You're not letting them forget about you, and it's played off. Brian first saw him when he was hawking T-shirts at Farmer City as a 14-year-old kid, right?
2000, I think it was 2009. He was just a little bushy-haired kid at the World of Outlaws souvenir trailer, and Tim Chrisman, who was running the Outlaws at the time, says, "Oh, here's our rookie driver today." And I look at him, I'm like, "Well, he's only like a kid, And he goes, "Shh, he's only 13." We're like, "Oh,
my
wow."
God!
And in 2011, he won a Speed Weeks race at East Bay in his dirt late model. That's kind of when he really came onto the scene, when you could see that he was, going to win, and he had the backing behind him. I believe his family is tied to Broken Bow Records maybe, or something like that. So that's been able to escalate his career quickly. But cool story to see him, a guy that we've seen from the very beginning, now going to run for a championship next week.
And what talent. I mean, it's fun to watch a driver with that kind of talent, and especially he's matured in racing right in front of our eyes. It's been really fun to watch. And, here, I think it's kind of funny that Richard Childress, I'm the big man. You're just driving one of my cars. I'll exercise your option year here and pay you not very much to hang around. In the meantime, Denny Hamlin knew by going out and grabbing Reddick, he was going to do himself and his race team a favor, and has that worked out for everybody involved, for sure. We're glad you're tuned in. We'll be back. Hang in there with us.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need, with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
America at the precipice. An election with enormous implications. The stakes couldn't be higher. On election night, Tuesday, November 5th, trust News Talk 1130 WISN to bring you the latest results, plus the insightful analysis you need as the direction of America unfolds. Listen starting at 7 on election night, November 5th, to Decision 2024, the final vote on News Talk 1130 WISN, because this one feels huge.
I was telling you about where the playoff cars were starting, and I neglected to mention Denny Hamlin starts last on the field today, and that's not a real good place to be starting at Martinsville, because Brian, the way it looks in the points, having his throttle stick in practice and having him take it into the wall, he's going to need to win, the way it looks to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get the stage points unless they work out some sort of a strategy. I mean, he's 18 points out right now as we look at things. You know, William Byron is the cut man right now. He's 7 to the good. Kyle Larson's 7 to the bad. And with a lot of these guys starting outside the top 10, points are going to be, harder to get. And passing at Martinsville is at an absolute premium. So I would assume they're going to do some sort of strategy game there to get himself to the front. When you do that, the flip side happens. You get a caution wrong. It really can put you in the back. But Denny's going to just have to work to try to stay on the lead lap. And he's so good at this track. He's got so many wins here. This would be a place, if he would be able to qualify in the top 10, I probably would have picked him. But, boy, he's going to be up.
He hasn't won this next-gen car yet. His last one came in 2015.
That's true, yeah.
At this track, you mean? Yeah.
At this track.
At this track, yeah.
Speaking of must-win situations, the 12 and the 9 are so far out of it that, I don't know that Blaney or Elliott has any shot whatsoever if they don't. And for Elliott's sake, good for him. He starts in the front row and will need to win the race. And we have to keep in mind just how dominant that Hendrick Motorsports cars have been at this track over the years, albeit mostly with Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. However, they've really got a good setup for this. At least they did in the cars before these things that we're driving now. So it'll make for slobber knocker racing. You're going to need to move people. PJ, it's the greatest term because that's where we're at. Speaking of slobber knocker racing, we had a couple of interesting races yesterday. One yesterday and one on
the truck.
Friday. Xfinity. The 20 car with Almirola wins the race and dominates, wins every single segment. And you think, well, this doesn't matter because he's not really going to be racing for a championship. He's been there in a couple of races this year. Aha, but there's more to it, isn't there? Anyone? It's the ownership championship, and it's different than the driver championship. And the 20 car is in it, and the 00 car, which made it into the playoffs, does not have a chance at an owner championship.
Yeah, he's in the driver championship, not the owners. And apparently, a lot of the money is in the. Is it in the owners in Xfinity?
Oh, big time.
Yeah, that's where a vast majority of it is.
By the way, got to mention, Retzloff won the pole for that race and had a pretty impressive run there. What did he get taken out or spun out or what?
Yeah, you got Sam. I think didn't Sam put him in the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Sam put a couple cars in the fence. He was a little bit out of control there, and at the end, finally got to end up in an accordion where it took him out, and will not be in the final four. So, but either way, this is the kind of racing they wanted. And like I said, speaking of slobber knocker, PJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about the truck race on Friday that, of course, started so early in the afternoon. I didn't even realize it out here on the West Coast.
Well, it was definitely people points racing or going for it because that's all they had left in their bag of tricks. And it was Ty Majeski's quote at the end of the race was, "I decided to be the ball and not the pin." He ended up just kind of getting bounced back to 11th and just hoping for the best. His teammate Ben Rhodes went up to try to win the race, and he kind of gave a shove to Eckes to get the lead there. And then Tyler Reddick was coming. There was a caution, which, Dan, you and I were kind of talking about the fact that it looked a little suspect.
Yeah, it was the great kid in the 17 truck. He had tires, and he needed a caution to catch the leader. I mean, he wasn't going to win that race without a caution, and he wasn't going to get to the championship floor without winning that race. And should he had won, that would have put the 98 truck out of the deal. So he needed a caution, and somehow in the backstretch, the 5 truck ran the 15 truck hard down the backstretch and just sent him into turn 3 and wrecked him. And that got the caution. Well, the 5 and the 15 are on the same team. They're in the same team as the 17 that needed the caution.
Weird.
At the end. I was like, I think they kind of manufactured that to help that guy out. And nobody was seeing that. And I'm like, that's almost like what Michael Waltrip Racing did a couple years ago. Only they just spun out. This time they wrecked each other.
Michael was notably quiet on the broadcast, though.
As you might figure. They don't want any manipulation of races that they don't control themselves. So
and then, of course, you had Eckes kind of giving a big push to Taylor, and taking over the lead, and Taylor Gray was just perturbed immensely. Let's put it that way.
See what happens on Friday night in Phoenix. I mean, I just got a kick out of Fox trying their hardest, to get an interview, and he didn't want to talk, and she just was persistent as heck asking, and then she asked, what's going to happen? I'm going to race with him for a whole nother year. Yep. What's going to happen next Friday? He just goes, clean racing, and he walks away. Well, he's not going to say he's going to do anything,
not.
I mean, we saw last year's race. Last year's race was just a cage match, for crying out loud. They had so much wrecks, So, I don't know. If I'm thinking if the 17 is behind the 19 nearing the end of the race, I don't know that the 19 will come out on the other end.
No.
Isn't that great? And this is all what, they want this. They want, geez, there's a big question mark. Is somebody going to come out and pay someone back next week for the championship? And NASCAR's going, now you guys can talk smart all you want on camera, but, we're watching.
Right. But don't forget, we already, as Dan mentioned, that whole Tricon Garage, they're kind of a gang, if you will. So maybe it won't be Taylor that does anything. It could be somebody else that's under.
They got one truck in it. Corey Haim is their Tricon Garage representative, so he's in the final 4. So he's probably like, guys, don't whack the hornet's nest here. I'm going to try to win a championship.
Plausible deniability. I think that's a thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But
bottom line is that we got a representative on Friday night. I mean, Majeski made it with the 98 truck, and he's going to go for a championship. They always said you got to lose one before you win one. Well, he lost one once. Now it's time to go win one.
Well, and I love it because he's under the radar in the sense everybody's talking about all the other teams, so that's great.
He'll be joined by the 2 Chevrolets of Infinger, who was really hot leading into last week, or this past Friday's race, but really didn't have to do anything, so he kind of just hung out. Eckes, who won the race. Those are your 2 Chevys, Ty and your Ford, and then Corey Haim will be the lone Toyota representative. So I would say those were the 4 best trucks all season in the Truck Series that are in the Final 4. So when you're talking about getting it right, I think the Truck Series got it right with their 4.
And great parity, right, Brian?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be back.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
The checkered flag is waved over the racing season at the Fair Park in Plymouth. Congratulations to the champions, Brad Miller, Will Source, Travis Schmidt, and Ben Schmidt. Plymouth Dirt Track Racing thanks all the drivers and pit crews for their ongoing dedication. The loyal, dedicated track workers are the best at what they do every week. A big thank you also to the many businesses for their sponsorships, and of course the fans who make it all possible. The green flag will wave for another season next spring. We'll see you there.
Sunday, two old foes meet again and hate each other. This game is as fierce a rivalry as we've seen. Packers, Lions. Kickoff at 3:25 on Milwaukee's home for Packers football. 97.3 The Game.
Boy, sometimes I surprise myself. I had to go to the bathroom during the break, and I made it back with 2 seconds to go.
Did you
That's
speed
more
on pit road?
information than you needed. What's that, Dan?
Probably sped on pit road.
Yeah, a little bit. By the way, the Packers game is a late one today. Of course, you can hear it at 97.3 The Game this afternoon. It starts at 3:25. So the race will be on for 2.5 hours by the time the Packer game starts. So just, will that get you all the way through Martinsville? Probably not. But you will have to judge what you're going to watch. There's lots of good stuff to keep track of today. A couple of things going on. Our old friend Kurt Busch, I don't know if you remember back in August, he got pulled over for doing something silly in a street car. I don't remember exactly what he did. I do know when he had his problems out here in Maricopa County, Arizona, back in the day, a cop had told him not to proceed, and he went to the right of the cop into the gravel lane along the side of the road, and then sped away, turned right, and kicked some gravel onto the cop's shoes. And that's never really good when you do stuff like that, especially then they pull you over, and then he says, "You, you obviously don't know who I am." No, I don't.
If he was an NFL receiver, he'd get to catch a touchdown in the game later that day and make fun of everybody.
Yeah, no kidding. Either way, he got caught 0.17 in August. He pled guilty, and he got a 60-day suspended sentence. Okay, that's we dodged one there. He got 1 year what do they call it? Unsupervised probation. Not really sure what that is, but you know what it is more than anything else? You got to learn a lesson and don't do anything stupid like that again. Really? That's what it's about. And you hope that Kurt Busch this time is going to be smart, and we're not blaming it on anything except ourselves here. We just got to learn a lesson. So, Kurt, love the guy, but come on. Let's see. Other interesting things. Brian, that Irwindale track that we talked about on this program many times as being a good, solid choice where they might want to run the Busch Clash if you really wanted to keep it in Southern California, which, of course, now they've gone to the other coast with it. But there aren't a whole lot of racetracks, especially nice racing surfaces out there in California in the L.A. area. And finally, they've announced it's going to close.
Yeah, their last race is going to be December 21st, according to reports. That's sad to see, because that probably is arguably one of the best short tracks in the country. with multiple grooves, and it's in an industrial location. And sounds like they're going to just level it. There's a company that's owned it for the last 2 years. They're going to level it and turn it into, I don't know, like a business park area or something like that, which that's sad to see. I mean, if NASCAR was serious about running in Southern California, this is just an opinion piece here now, serious about it, they would look into finding a way to purchase that property and bring their race there. I mean, there's 63 acres. I mean, if you're going to spend the money and build in an industrial area in Fontana, which is really up in the air, nobody knows what's going on there. Here you got a track that's ready. It races as good as anything. Just got to add some seats. There's a drag strip on the back. If you want to get rid of that, you could get rid of that. That would give you more parking and room to put more seats in. You're not in a residential area. I mean, I don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it was a NASCAR sanctioned track, and it sounds like it's just going to go by the wayside. So,
Brian,
chalk up another beautiful facility going away.
Seems to me, or they could just get moving on the new Fontana.
Yeah, or scan Irwindale before they bulldoze it and try to put that exact same piece out there, because that, I mean, anybody that's watched racing there, it's as good as it gets, and I would love to see the 3 NASCAR series run on that type of a surface. I think the racing would be spectacular.
All right, well, that's how we roll there.
Are there any tracks to run in California now? Any asphalt tracks in Southern California?
Geez.
Boy, I don't think so.
Boy, that's how far away is Kern County, PJ? It seems like that's close by, is it?
It's in Bakersfield, which is it's maybe an hour, a little more than an hour north of LA.
Well, it's certainly not prepared for anything having to do with NASCAR. So there are those that believe that Fontana will never be developed into a racetrack. I would say
tend to believe that as well.
Yeah. It seems to me they should be doing it, and if they're not, what the hell is the reason? I mean, it's a good location. It's right off of the freeway. It's in a major metropolitan area. Are they getting too many headaches from local residents? I don't think so. It's on an older industrial site. They've had races there in the past. Why are they dragging their feet so bad? Costs. Or do we really want them to be racing in Southern California? You know, think about this. If the cost was the thing, they wouldn't be completely building the LA Coliseum into a racetrack and then tearing it out a week later, a couple of years at a time. All that money could have been put into the track and they would be racing already at Fontana.
It could have, but they didn't, and now the bank account doesn't have as many digits in it as it had before, and that could be their serious issue.
There's something in front of us that we're missing. I don't know what it is. Why would NASCAR be trying to tell everyone eventually we're going to be racing there? Well, why don't you get off your lazy asses and put a racetrack in there? You did it for the Coliseum. Don't tell me you can't do it at open site like you've been racing on for how many years?
And
all right. So
Aaron Baird just posted a little link. If you look at the link, it shows a drone video of Fontana, and right off where turn 1 would be is a massive warehouse under construction. So for NASCAR to fit a new track into that piece that's left is going to be a challenge in itself. I mean, I'm serious. Right where pit road ends is the wall of this massive warehouse now in Fontana.
Something isn't adding up. Why are they telling us one thing and doing something else? It just doesn't make sense. What could possibly be in it for them? All right, keep that in mind, and that's something else to think about. In the meantime, well, who saw this coming? The Sports Business Journal has reported that Saudi Arabia wants a race by the end of the decade, and NASCAR, Brian, apparently NASCAR's not denying this, right?
Well, they're declining to comment on it, but said that race in Saudi, but has acknowledged exploring events in the Middle East before. And there's pictures of this new Saudi Arabia. It's a road course, of course, that they're putting up out there. They already have several. I'm surprised they're putting more, but there's so much money over there. I guess it doesn't seem to matter. But I mean, I can't honestly think this would be something they would consider. I mean, you wanna whack the hornet's nest and piss off the owners even more. Here's a good way to do it. Tell them they're going to go overseas to Saudi Arabia. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, right, Dan? The Formula One guys have been over there in certain areas, Qatar or whatever. Weren't they racing over there a couple of years and there were bombs going off?
There's one track where somebody blew up a oil thing or something like that because you could see the fire off the end of the track. But that was a couple of years ago. This is just the track that they built in Saudi Arabia. They built it and they put out a deal saying we want to have races here. You want F1 and we want all this stuff, and they included NASCAR. That's kind of how it started. So I mean, nothing's really serious that's really going to happen. But like I said, they declined comment and said, well, we've exploded them in the past.
Our resident lawyer, Dan Margetta, is going to give us an update on what's going on with the 2311 front row lawsuits. God, do we love that word when we're talking about racing. We'll be right back.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines. Just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company in the heart of Wisconsin is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at WagnerAutomotive.com.
For the second week in a row, Brandon McManus delivers the dagger.
Now 6-2. The Packers head home for an NFC North battle with the Lions. Kickoff at 3:25 Sunday on the home for the Green Bay Packers. 97-3 The Game.
I remember when the Lions weren't any good. I love those days. All right, so this week in an interview, NASCAR President Steve Phelps said, quote, when talking about the lawsuit that NASCAR is facing right now about monopolies, okay, quote, I want to make sure this isn't a distraction. That's all they consider this lawsuit is a distraction. Dan, there's been some stuff going on in court, and for the uninitiated legal minds such as myself, it's hard to understand.
Well, the big deal is Monday is the injunction hearing. That's the injunction that 2311 and Front Row filed that says we can keep running as we are running while this lawsuit continues. In other words, they can't take our charters away at the end of the year. That's what they want the court to say. They filed their injunction brief last week, and the hearing is Monday. NASCAR's response was, you can run as an open team if you don't want to run as a charter team. You just chose not to sign the agreement. And any money you think you're going to lose, if you win this lawsuit, you'll get it back anyways. That was their response. Now, 2311 responded to that this week, and apparently there's two agreements. I didn't realize that. There isn't a chartered agreement you sign, or you sign an open agreement. So either way, you sign an agreement to run a car in NASCAR, and both agreements have provisions that says you can't sue NASCAR. So they're saying, well, if we run as an open team, we got to sign that agreement, and then you're going to turn around and say it says right here you can't sue us. So
So they already signed something that said they can't sue NASCAR, yet they're suing.
Oh, they haven't. I mean, because they don't know what they're doing for 25 yet. I mean,
that's the new agreement. Okay.
Right. If they're saying if you make us run as an open team, you're going to make us sign this open agreement that says we can't sue you, and we're kind of stuck. So that's kind of where they're at.
NASCAR wins either way.
Either way, I think it's almost over. I think they're going to have to. They got them in a headlock, and they're going to have to say, "Okay, I give up," because this obviously is not going to work out. So the original charter agreement more than likely has the same language on "you can't sue us," and yet they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's curious to see what the court says on Monday if they make a decision on the injunction. If they win that. If they lose that, I think their case really is kind of hard. And it'll be an interesting week in Phoenix when their driver's running for the championship.
This is going to be good. I think NASCAR is just going to kind of, it's a fly on their shoulder right now, which are about to whisk off and continue on the way they have been. And it's interesting that someone actually tried to upend the apple cart, but it isn't going to happen. At least not the way it looks right now. Maybe they've got some Johnny Cochran lawyer waiting to jump out of the woodwork and bring something on that they hadn't expected. But
their lawyer's a pretty well-known guy. I mean, he won that deal for the college players to get money. He's won some pretty big cases, so he's not just a fly-by-night lawyer. I mean, it's a pretty big deal.
Okay, well, this is the time. Tomorrow, will this be reported? Where would we see what happened in court? Probably on social media, right?
I'm sure. I mean, it'll probably get posted somewhere on a website or something, and that's usually what the courts do. They release opinions and stuff, and then I'm sure there's a ton of people watching this constantly, and as soon as it comes out, you'll find it.
All right, so that's something to watch tomorrow. I mentioned the lineup for today's race with Truex on the pole and Hamlin on the other end. What I didn't mention is a couple of interesting stories within the stories. For one, Richfield, Wisconsin's own Josh Bilicki is in the race today. Qualified 35th. Brian, that means he wasn't last.
Nope, he outqualified Zane Smith in one of the Spire cars, so that's all right.
Well, and it's a surprise, too, because this 66, as Johnny Sauter once said, you don't want to stand too close or you might need a tetanus shot.
That wasn't that car, though. That was Tim Bain's truck. Yeah,
that's right.
But it's along the same deal. I mean, this is this isn't very updated equipment. This really isn't. I think anybody in that car is really going to struggle.
Yeah,
and yet he's in the race. One
part of the deal. They're not. I mean, they're a non-chartered team too. So you're you're in the river without any oars on your boat. That's really tough.
No, go out there and do your best. All righty. The education of SVG. Today, you won't see much about it unless he's getting lapped, and you get the feeling that might happen more than once. Shane Van Gisbergen, who is obviously one of the more talented drivers in the world, is more a road course guy, would you say, than a short track slobber knocker kind of guy. And yet his education is going to take a very interesting turn today because he's going to race at Martinsville in preparation for a full-time season in the Cup cars next year. So we'll watch, but you get the feeling it's not going to be a good day for SVG today, but it should be a game within a game just to keep an eye on what's going on there. A couple of things. Tom Cruise. Remember him? Days of Thunder? Well, now he's 60 years old, and he wants to come out with a Days of Thunder sequel. You're going to need another love interest, I think, to make this thing work, because it kind of worked last time because he ended up marrying the girl. But, Dan, he's had some pretty good sequels lately.
Well, they redid Top Gun a couple of years ago, and it turned out pretty good. They seem to work that story out. This time around, he obviously he's not going to be driving. He'd probably be a car owner maybe or something. I'm trying to think what.
Right.
Are they going to do the movie if they do it again? I mean, do you remember those years when they'd have the movie cars were out actually in the middle of the race? I mean, I remember watching the race and seeing them out there, and all of a sudden you'd throw a caution because they had to get off or do something. I mean, I can't see NASCAR
they filmed
allowing that
during
type
the
of
Twin
stuff.
125s on Thursday at Daytona.
Yeah. Right.
They explained what was going to be happening. All right, now a helicopter's going to land here. There's nobody really hurt. We're just going to be shipping a guy for the movie. So everybody's, yay! We're all at the movie.
Phoenix, too. Didn't they run at Phoenix? Those cars that have come into the garage every so many laps that put new film on the camera?
Unbelievable. We'll be back.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
The checkered flag is waved over the racing season at the Fair Park in Plymouth. Congratulations to the champions, Brad Miller, Will Source, Travis Schmidt, and Ben Schmidt. Plymouth Dirt Track Racing thanks all the drivers and pit crews for their ongoing dedication. The loyal, dedicated track workers are the best at what they do every week. A big thank you also to the many businesses for their sponsorships, and of course the fans who make it all possible. The green flag will wave for another season next spring. We'll see you there.
The Milwaukee Admirals have won 8 games in a row. They'll return to Panther Arena on Saturday to host the Chicago Wolves. To the right hash marks, dropping it off. Schaefer at the right circle to the left for Hennesgrossa. Center point, Gravel, score! Pre-game coverage at 5:30. Face-off at 6 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
And now the LTN Hour presents Dirt on the Dirt with Brian Schmidt.
Still a few dirt races out there as we turn the page into November. We'll start Friday, Sweetwater, Tennessee, the I-75 Raceway. The Hunt the Front Super Dirt Late Model Series, $10,000 to win. Corey Hedgecock was your feature winner. Out in Bullhead City, Arizona. That's somewhere out by you, Todd, but I think it's closer to the western state line. Mojave Valley Raceway. The USAC CRA Sprint Cars had the Western World Championships, night number 1, and Kevin Thomas Jr. was the feature winner. Last night, the second night of the Western World Championships out in Bullhead City, Arizona for the USAC CRA Sprints. Kyle Cummings was your feature winner. Stockton, California, the NARC 410 Sprint Car Series, Justin Sanders was your winner, and the 360s went to DJ Netto. Georgetown, Delaware, the Mid-Atlantic Championships for the Short Track Super Series Big Block Modifieds. Truck Series regular Stuart Friesen grabbed the win. In the Super Late Models, it was Rick Eckert with the win. Sweetwater, Tennessee, night number 2 at the I-75 Raceway for the Hunt the Front Series. $20,000 to win. Brandon Overton won the feature, and he also won the $50,000 championship. So a cool $70,000 earned last night. That's a really good night of racing. The USCS 360s, Sterling Kling was your winner. Phoenix City, Alabama, the East Alabama Motor Speedway for the XRSS Super Series, $15,000 to win, Ethan Dotson. And finally out at the Charlotte Dirt Track, the Dirt Track at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the World Short Track Championships for a lot of the undercard divisions in UMP, and the top class there was the UMP Modifieds, and Kyle Strickler grabbed the feature win there. Next week is the big World Finals in Charlotte for the Big Block Modifieds, the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, and the World of Outlaw Late Models. So, also of note, a couple news and notes from the dirt side here. The 141 Speedway announced their 2025 schedule, and they said on Tuesday night, June 3rd, the High Limit Sprint Car Series will make their first ever appearance in the state of Wisconsin for the Race Rudine Foundation race. That was held at Plymouth a couple times over the years for $25,000 to win, and Kyle Larson is expected to be at that event. So,
yeah, they're in Iowa, right? So I mean, it's right around there.
Yeah, yep. So put Tuesday night, June 3rd on your calendar. Also, another big.
You know what? Take that whole week off.
Yeah.
If you're a sprint fan in Wisconsin, take that whole week off, all the way to the next week. So there's some stuff coming that you're gonna be happy about, I think.
Yes. Also of note, the LaSalle Speedway announced that they're going to be reopening in 2025. They've been closed for a while. Izzo is going to be running it again, but it was purchased by a different developer, and he's going to run it. So they're starting to fix it up, mow the weeds down, plow it up, get the track ready and fix a lot of the bleachers. So look for some racing back at LaSalle, which isn't that far away from the folks in Milwaukee, about 2 hours. So that's kind of cool. In a day when we see a lot of tracks closing, it's always cool to report on one reopening.
You got that
All right. On to the asphalt side of things. Not as much as things are starting to wind down for the season, but this weekend in Nashville, the All-American 400 is going on. And last night, the Boers Compact Tour Series ran. The winner was Josh Richardson. Carter Stark finished third there. The CRA Street Stocks also ran. The winner was Heath Helton, and I didn't get to watch this one, but you did, Dan. James Swan, who was fast in practice, ended up like 28th. What happened there?
Yeah, he didn't do good in qualifying. Something happened. He qualified mid-pack, and on the first lap, coming out of turn 2, one of the local guys ahead of him kind of parked it off the corner, and James was right behind him, got into him. He spun it back across the racetrack, took James, and another car going by on the outside that really wrecked his car bad. So first lap, it kind of stinks to get taken out that way. And like I said, he was coming off the corner on the bottom, going to make some moves and going fast, and the guy in front of him just kind of parked it right in front of him.
That's a bummer. The good news, though, is he's okay, and they did win the race in the pits afterwards, as well as a shopping cart race in the pits, too, according to my sources. So that's good. The CRA All-Stars Tour, the Pro Late Models ran last night. Chase Johnson was the winner. Jeremy Miller was down there, too. He finished P3. It was kind of a carnage-riddle event. Quinn Davis, young gal, got spun. And then Scott Melton, an older guy, came in eating a ham sandwich and hit her in the door much later. That was nuts.
Way late.
Yeah. Maybe he was eating 2 ham sandwiches. But anyway, she's okay, I guess. The ASA Stars Tour will be running today at Nashville. Casey Roderick has fast time. He'll be starting on the pole. Austin Nason running down there as well. He qualified 12th. And we'll see how things shake out there today. Hopefully they won't have any kind of an incident like they did last year where there was oil on the track and took out pretty much everybody. So hoping for a good, clean race today for those folks. And then just as a follow-up on the Bigley Memorial, which is coming up at the Freedom Factory in Florida, I did talk to Ricky Brooks. The entry list and the full payout will be released this week. He is still working on some sponsorship, but the entry list is going to be released first, and then that full payout will be released as well later on this week. So there you have it. It is happening.
I'll meet you there, PJ.
What's that?
I'll meet you there. I'm going to the Freedom Factory for the first time. You were there last year, weren't you?
I was, and I think Dan Plan from the Midwest Racing Connection will be down there too. I've already promised my husband I won't drink as much as I did last year.
You were funny when you were texting us, I can tell you that much. It was awesome. Yes. By the way, speaking of drinking, if you are planning on coming to Arizona for the championship weekend this coming weekend, we're having a little get-together on Thursday night. Let's just say 6 o'clock or after truck practice or whatever. You're actually going to be at truck practice till the bitter end. Just come when it's over. We're not far from the racetrack. It's called Romans. It's a little south of I-10 and 303 on Yuma Drive. So just remember that Romans. Just put it in your phone. You'll find it, and it's a classic place for sure. And we'll do that this coming week. All right. I don't care if he's starting last. I'm going to take my favorite driver. What the hell? I'll take Hamlin to win from the rear because he has to. And not that I want him to, but I think he's going to win today. All right. Let's see. Dan, who are you looking at?
I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. I think Larson's got to put his... He has to go to the Final Four. That's what he's done this year. Look at he was kind of on the ropes at the road course, the Roval in Charlotte, and he won that to get to the next one. So he seems to step up. It's a very inconsistent year for him, but I think he puts it together and at least gets to the Final Four.
All right. Brian.
I'm taking William Byron, Hendrick Carr, 24, and he's going to punch his ticket into the Final Four, even though he's in pretty good shape already. But
it's really coming down to a battle between the Hendrick cars. The Larson.
Yeah.
No kidding. PJ, not that we wanted you to pick last, but you can actually take, if you agree with any of the other 3 picks, feel free.
Well, I do, but I don't like to have the same thing. So I was going to go with Larson, but I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to go with my favorite guy who I really thought would be in the Final Four, and he's been so close to punching that ticket, and I think he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat today. I'm going with Ryan Blaney.
He's had like really good finishes the last 11 races here. I think his worst finish is like 6th or something like that.
Yep.
We've got one more segment for you. We're glad you're tuned in, and we'll be back right after these.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Swing of the right leg, kick is up. It is good.
Well, this could be a habit for me.
Yeah, it could be. 31-yard field goal. Kick booms to the uprights, and it is good.
You line up for a makeable field goal, and you make it.
The kick is up, and it is good! For the second week in a row, Brandon McManus delivers the dagger!
Now 6-2. The Packers head home for an NFC North battle with the Lions. Kickoff at 3:25 Sunday on the home for the Green Bay Packers. 97-3 the game.
Last night was the induction ceremony for the Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Matt Kenseth for finally getting in. Apparently you passed the audition. Jimmy Fennig, Scott Hansen, Nate Hosley, Pat Schauer. What a great list that is right there. Just absolutely amazing. You may say to yourself, it seems odd a couple of these guys weren't in already. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter. They're in now, and that's the way it works. So congratulations. A couple things going on. The Wood brothers, as we mentioned last week, were trying to figure out who they're going to name for the new crew chief for Josh Berry when he gets there next year. And it is an engineer by the name of Miles Stanley. I get the feeling he's from, Penske, the Penske side. Most everything is. It says Wood brothers, but really. So Miles Stanley. Also, which is I find kind of interesting, that Booty Barker has been the crew chief on that 23 car since they started, and Bubba's crew chief. So it's great. You got a black guy and a guy in a wheelchair. Well, Booty Barker is out, and they are naming a guy by the name of Charles Deneke to be the new crew chief. He is the crew chief on Christian Eckes' truck that won yesterday. Booty Barker will stay with the organization, get one of those kick upstairs kind of thing. Really cool, because this guy's got his stuff all in one sock, and he's deserves it very much. And PJ, when you were given, actually, this I'm going to put on Brian. When you were given the dirt track results, I noticed that you didn't mention the junior wing champion at Millbridge Speedway in North Carolina, which is where all the second and third generation and sometimes fourth generation drivers get their start. Brexton Bush gets all the headlines because of his dad, but I'm going to tell you something. Old Brexton Bush finished second to a fourth generation race car driver by the name of Jackson Darnell, who won it, and it was pretty cool stuff. Those kids, they're learning it right. They all root for each other, and I think it's pretty cool how the families all are real close, and there's at least we start out on the right foot. They all want to stab each other in the back once they start getting the NASCAR, But for now, their kids having a good time, and congratulations to that young Jackson.
If I did go-kart results, our program would be longer than Mark Belling's, so we don't want that.
Hey, Mark Belling, I see is moving to the internet. Oh, never mind. That's another story completely. Here's an interesting story. Wayne Aughton, you might know the name. He's been the director of the Xfinity Series for seems like a long time. He was a buddy at Ed Kaluka's. Well, he announced that he's going to retire after this week's race at Phoenix. And but what's interesting is who's going to take his place. A former Madison International Speedway regular by the name of Eric Peterson. I just remember him well as being the number 6 car, and he's going to take over as the series director for the Xfinity Series. How about that one? That's pretty cool stuff. And congratulations to Eric, too. Hope it's a long and fruitful career. NBC today, 1 o'clock green flag, a couple minutes after. Perfect conditions. You get to watch it a couple hours before the Packer game. Lots of different stories to watch, but when it comes right down to it, the Hendrick cars, one's 7 positions ahead of the cut line, and one is 7 positions behind the cut line. And they've had some really good races in the past, and pretty much between Brian's pick and Dan's pick.
If you're looking at who's going to, because 2 cars are going to make it. You have, if somebody wins, they'll get in, and you'll have 1 on points or 2 cars on points. And right now, the guys that are safe on points, Christopher Bell is probably the safest. He can finish third or better without stage points. He goes to Phoenix. So look at that. If he gets some stage points, he can do a little worse than third. So he might be all right. Then you said Byron is 7 points ahead of Larson. That's probably the battle for that last spot. If Larson can somehow beat Byron by 7 spots, or Byron's won here in the spring, I think, didn't he? And then Denny Hamlin's 18 out, and he's coming from the back. So there's plenty of stories.
Yeah, it's great. This is what NASCAR wanted. Don't kid yourself when all this guys making roundhouse punches at each other and all that sort of thing. This is what happened. By the way, speaking of punching in the pits, that did happen, and I noticed who was it? Chandler, right? Chandler Smith did the punching.
I wouldn't call it a punch.
It was more like a bitch slap, really.
It was a missed punch is all it was, but it was for the cameras anyway. So Cole Custer was the recipient, and yeah, he punched me, but I hardly knew I was even hit. That's just so beautiful. They want to make sure it gets people all charged up. Oh, if they're doing this for the trucks and Xfinity, wow, they must be beating the living daylights out of each other.
Look at that Xfinity 4. It's AJ Allmendinger, Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer right now, right?
Is Justin going to finally win his championship?
I was going to say,
guys?
7 times, Dean. If you can't do it in 7 times, it should be a rule. You can't come back there.
That's why
anybody but Austin Hill, please. Anybody.
No
but Austin.
kidding.
I hope Justin could finally get it done. That would be so cool.
Guys, I look at the driving ability. I like that kid in that 7 car. I think it's time he finally does it. And he does very well out here in Phoenix.
But think about the party if AJ Allmendinger were to win that championship next week, Saturday night. That would be something.
He was an unhappy camper yesterday, wasn't he? Oh, my God. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. This ought to be fun today. We'll keep an eye on that race. And for all of us involved with the program, we want you to remember that real race cars have doors, even if they do climb in through the windows. Let's Talk NASCAR is produced and directed by Dangerous Dan Margetta. Our engineer is Matt Losey, who would invite everyone to stick around on the internet after this program. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
This program has come to you live from multiple locations via Skype. Any and all comments expressed on this show do not necessarily express the opinions of this station, its employees, or advertisers. Your comments are always welcome at mail@ltnradionetwork.com. Find us at facebook.com/LTN Radio Network. And thank you for your support since 1985. Tune in again next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time for the LTN Hour on the LTN Radio Network.